Next, we'll hear from Fabricio, and please correct me if I said that wrong, but he's going to talk about best practices to deal with the added inventory complexities when going omnichannel.
You said it right. No worries. Thanks for checking. And thanks, Rock, for the intro about inventory, because I agree with you 100%. Inventory is the biggest and hardest problem in modern commerce. And with the omni-channel trend, it's going to be even more important moving forward. So that's what I want to talk about today. So we're Flieber. It's an inventory planning for modern commerce as we position here. I don't want to talk too much about Flieber. You have the website to go, flieber.com. If you want to go to G2 to see what our customers are saying, just feel free to do that. But I don't want to take too much of your time talking about Flieber itself. I want to talk about the theme, which is the best practices to deal with the added inventory complexities when going omnichannel. So first of all, brands must sell everywhere their customers are. This is the fact that there was a period of time where you had like Amazon sellers or D2C brands or wholesalers or retailers. That was just a reflection of how amateur this whole segment still was. It's a new industry. This new industry of e-commerce joined the retail, and there was a space for specific channels. But now, moving forward, there will be less and less space for that. Each channel has their own role in this whole process. So Amazon and marketplaces, they're great because they give you the customers. So it's a great launch pad to test products. But the fact that they give you the customers to you is the same, that generates problems because they also give the same customers to your competitors. So it's really easy to compete. So you have to build brands, and to build brands, you have to go to your own website on Shopify, for example, but that doesn't give you volume. So to get volume, you have to go wholesale. So, that chain goes on, and each channel has their own role in the whole scheme of things. So the idea is that you have to be multi-channel and omni-channel most of all. But the problem is that every new channel you add adds a lot of inventory complexity. So inventory is at the center of all this complexity. As I usually say, when retail goes digital, sales go digital, the advertising goes digital, customers go digital, customer support goes digital, payment goes digital, but the inventory is still physical. So it's only natural that inventory will be at the center of all complexities. And how to deal with that, right? So I created here a set of slides. I want to go very quickly through it. It's just to convey the message. So let's assume you're starting an Amazon US shop and you don't have a lot of volume. You send things directly from the supplier to FBA and you sell through FBA. Then you start getting a little more volume and you turn on the NARF and start accepting orders from Canada too, but still from FBA and not a lot of complexity. Then you start getting more volume. We will add a 3PL to the process because FBA becomes too expensive to hold all your inventory. And now you already have 2 nodes of inventory. So it changes a little bit the dynamics. And since you have the 3PL, you decide to split Canada to gain, because if you're sending products directly to Canada, you have a bunch of different gains, especially in the delivery time to the final customer. So that increases sales. So you now have 3 nodes of inventory, and then you decide to expand to EU. Then you have 4 nodes of inventory, and sales grow in Canada and EU. Then you have 6 nodes of inventory. Then you decide to start a Shopify website. You still use multi-channel fulfillment, but it starts growing, and then you start replenishing directly from the 3PL, Walmart, WFS, and you understand what I mean. So wholesale, TikTok Shop, and all of those things. And in the end of the day, you have this huge network of inventory positions that you have to deal with, right? And add to that the fact that you're going to get more suppliers with time, and then the connections, each one of those arrows become one connection of inventory, and things go really messy. We have customers, we show a supply chain map, which is something similar than this, but a little prettier. And we have customers that have over 100 nodes of inventory in the end of the day to take care of. And how do you do that in today's commerce? That's the biggest discussion here. Adding to that, you also have use cases. So in Shopify, for example, you can create virtual kits and bundles where you sell a kit and bundle, but you keep the inventory separate. So whenever the customer purchases that kit and bundle, what your 3PL does is to put those different products into the same package. You have subscriptions, which adds another complexity, because now you cannot go to your customer who bought your vitamin on a monthly subscription and say, oh, this month you're not going to use your vitamin because we are out of stock. You cannot do that. You have back orders, which is the possibility of selling the product even when you are out of stock. And what you do in that case is that you just promise to your customer a future delivery. And so it's a longer delivery. You don't have that on Amazon, but you have that on Shopify, for example. So it's a huge mess. And I placed here a huge list. I'm not going to go through each part of this list. I just placed it here because I sent to everybody who was here in this webinar. I sent the presentation after webinar, so you can read when you want. But I'm going to actually talk about a practical example. And sorry, I just want to make a little parenthesis. I've never in my history in webinars or podcasts or anything like that, I've never shown the system itself, because I think it's not about my system. It's about the what I'm trying to convey. But this time I had a really hard time to convey the message without showing actual examples. So sorry, I'm going to show the system this time. The first thing you have to do when you're thinking about inventory is forecasting. Forecasting with Omnichannel gains a huge complexity, because now you have to understand the demand of each one of the channels and combine them for different inventory locations. So it's a little hard. And the first step in forecasting that is really important to be done is outlier detection. So you see here the gray area shows a stock out, and the orange shows the substitution of that stock out for what would have been the sale. And even in this case, before the stock out and after the stock out, you see a ramp up here. So it shows that the problem of stock out is not only when you're out of stock, before you start losing ranking, after you take a little time to ramp up. So substituting that is really important, and that by itself improves forecasting 40%. So do that. Always substitute your past sales, outliers, or anything that happens that is not a norm before you do any forecasting. Then make sure that you're forecasting each channel, including seasonality, events, promotional plans, ad campaigns, and others. Then aggregate that demand of all channels for each inventory location. What you want is to forecast what you're going to use on an inventory location, adding all your channels. So you see here that in this case, this specific product in this specific location has an Amazon US, has bundles, 2 bundles on Amazon US, has Shopify with back orders, has Shopify bundles, wholesale, bundles in wholesale. So all of that has to be aggregated. And it's really hard for you to do that in an Excel spreadsheet. And that's the reason why I had to show the system, because I try to replicate that on a spreadsheet and it's impossible. After that, understand whenever you have an intermediate stock out, this is extremely important. I usually say that the biggest problem in brands nowadays is that they're trying to avoid stock outs only using the inventory lever. So what do I mean by that? Is that a stock out is a reflection of a mismatch between inventory and sales. So it's 2 levers, it's not 1 lever. If you sell less, you're not going to run out of stock. And if you have more inventory, you're also not going to run out of stock. And what is the solution for that? The solution is a balance. Because what happens is that most brands try to create fat when they are ordering inventory to be sure that they're not going to run out of stock. And what that creates is a potential overstock. And all the brands that die, they die rich in inventory, poor in cash. You always see, clearance, out of business clearance, because they are full of inventory. They just didn't have cash to pay their bills. So overstock is a huge problem. Try to avoid that. The way to avoid that is to have clear visibility, order what you need. If sales pick up, use the sales lever. You start increasing price, reducing advertising, and kind of managing sales and inventory together. And this is what this type of chart gives you. You see here a red in the middle is showing that you have an intermediate stock out at a certain point in the future. And if you are in the system, you're seeing the dates. Therefore, you don't have time to replenish. So therefore, the only thing you can do is to increase increase price and reduce advertising. Also, try to create alerts that call up the attention, because the more channels you have, the more inventory locations you will have, the more things you have to see. So if you have, let's assume 20 products, but those 20 products are in not 20, but 10 markets, you have now 200 products to be forecasted. And if you have 5 inventory locations, so it's 40 products per location. So it's really hard. You have to start managing that with alerts, notifications, and things like that. So create that in your system. Create ways also to have shortcuts and filters, because most of the times what you want is to see what actions you need to do. So building a very, very good system in the back end that is able to manage that complexity, so that you just manage the actions, is the way to go. Other thing that is extremely important in Omnichannel. Omnichannel, you start having different nodes, like 3PLs, for example. You have a 3PL in the US, EU, and UK. And before you have different nodes, you're ordering things from a supplier to a 3PL. And when you have 3 3PLs, instead of making 3 purchase orders to your supplier, make only 1 purchase order to your supplier for the combined demand of the 3 3PLs, even though they're in different places in the world. And the reason is because forecasting is extremely hard. You're always going to be wrong. But the closer you are to the sale of the product, the more accurate you start getting. So if you can make a first decision, which is let's order 1,000 products to the 3 3PLs, and 30 to 60 days later, after production is finished, you make the decision of how you're going to split those 1,000 units based on the new analysis of the demand at that time. That improves a lot the efficiency and makes it possible for you to be a lot more proactive in this process. And that's it. I wanted to be very brief. It's a lot to talk. I could talk about that for 2 days. But if you want to contact me at any time, fm@flieber.com. You can get a one-on-one inventory deep dive with myself with this link. It's going to be on the presentation you all are going to receive after this webinar. And to see a demo, just go to the Flieber.com and click on book a demo, and you're going to see a demo there. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, Daniel, for having me here today.